According to ESPN and other sources, Damian Lillard is now asking out of Portland. He wants to be traded. He wants to be traded to a contender. So what do I think about this? Well, I have to say it's about time he finally realized that he can't win in Portland. Just I felt for a while Damian Lillard has had this like martyr complex. This guy is like trying to be like the NBA's version of Joan of Arc or something. Just he's trying to look like he's this sympathetic hero that's put in horrible circumstances in which he has to sacrifice, but he can never achieve whatever goals he wants to achieve. He always tries to portray that image, and I always felt that Damien, you're not a victim. You're definitely not a victim of your circumstances, that you could always ask out of Portland. And I thought he should have done this like a few years ago. I think that was the time to do it. The Blazers were not contenders a few years ago, and just the direction they were going in, you could see that they needed to do a rebuild, but he still wanted to stick it through. I know some people will say, that's loyalty, but at a certain age, when a team is going through a rebuild, you can't stay with them, in the sense that this was not a championship team and they were just not going to win jack with him. So I don't know why he wanted to stick through it. I guess, again, it was just that martyr thing. He liked being the hero. But I also think he was conflicted about leaving Portland originally because he likes being the guy. He likes being the man. And on a championship team, as great as he is, I've never looked at Damian as a legit number one guy. I think at best on a championship team, he's a number two. And I didn't think Damian wanted to give that up. In Portland, he always got to be the number one guy, unquestionably the number one guy with nobody to challenge him. He also got the admiration over there, win or lose, that he never had to worry about being held accountable for not winning, because Portland was never good enough to win with him. That roster was just never good enough. So they were never the favorites. So he got to bask in that glory, in the sense that he could do no wrong over there, and he would always be loved. He would always be worshipped. And I think all those things have kept him there the last few years when he should have asked out. He should have tried to leave. I don't always knock players for asking out of these teams. And the reason I'll say this is that it has to be a situation in which they've given it their all, and they're around 30 years old, and it's just like they've done everything they can. Then it's time to leave, especially if the team's not a championship team. So that's why I felt Dame should have left a few years ago. I think the final straw for him this year was them being really that bad with him. They were one of the worst teams in the league, top 5 worst record. They also ended up getting the number 2 pick, number 3 pick. That is, yeah, that's right, number 3 pick. They ended up drafting Scoot Henderson, who's supposed to be this explosive guard at 6'2". He's gotten comparisons to Russell Westbrook, so he's a typical super athletic, undersized shooting guard. He's going to play the one. We've seen this story before, but if we're being honest, Dame and him can't complement each other. That would have been a midget backcourt. That would have been too small to play defense in the current NBA. I know people are going to say, well, defense doesn't matter anymore. This is all about offense now with these rules. And I would say defense is still important. You still need to be able to get at least a few stops a game at any of your positions on the court to have a chance to win. And I don't think those guys would have been able to get stops. It would have been a horrible combination, and I felt Damian would have been wasting his time there, and I think he would also have been wasting Scoot's time, because you're hurting Scoot's development because you're in his way, you being the number one guy. I thought this could potentially have turned into an Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre type of situation between those two, or even a Joe Montana, Steve Young type of deal, where those two would be competing against each other and not really working well together. So I think this is the right move for him to make at this time of his career. And like I said, he should have done this like a few years earlier, but oh well, at least he's finally learned, and he finally had the guts to move on and ask out. But it's a lesson to anybody that there's only a certain finite time you have to stick around for anything, whether it's an employer or a relationship. And if you feel ultimately after a certain amount of time that it's not getting you where you need to go, then you need to make that change and not be fearful of it. I think sometimes we make these changes too late in life, and then we end up regretting it. I think in Damian's case, it may be too late. Just the way I look at it, he's 33. He did come off of a great season, I would say. He averaged 32 points, on 46 overall from the field, 37 from three. So yeah, he had a great year. I'll give him that. But will it be enough now coming to next season that whoever he gets traded to, will that team have enough to win? And plus, Damian is really entering the tail end of his prime. Maybe he's playing at a high level for a year or two, maybe 3 years at best. I think that's what you're hoping for whoever trades him. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Obviously, I can't say whether or not he'll win a championship yet or project until I find out which team he's sent to and how much value they've given up for him. So this will be interesting to watch. So I just look forward to seeing what happens.